Happy day, friends. Happy day. And yes, I am still in my moo because this word wanted to be shared and I'm going to share it. So, over the last few days, God has been having a conversation with my spirit about, the question was kind of imprinted into my spirit. And the question that has been coming up is, what are you anticipating? What are you anticipating? Okay, so I want you to hear that question, but I don't want you to just hear it with your ears. I want you to hear it with your spirit. Let your spirit really hear that question. What are you anticipating? What have you been anticipating? What have you been anticipating? Okay, and so the first thing that I want to share and I want you to hear is that when we accept that we are made in the image of God, okay, that we are made in the image of this power that dwells within our universe, okay, that created everything that we can see within our universe, okay, that flows within everything we can see and touch, everything that we cannot see and touch within this universe, within the whole of existence. When we accept that we are made in that image, that the essence of who we are is that power, okay, when we intentionally allow that to be the foundation for our lives, then what we anticipate happening in our life begins to change. Okay, what we anticipate happening in our lives begins to change. What does that mean? That means that for many of us, because our identity, we have been so taught, right? We've been taught, we've been distracted from the truth that we were created in the image of this power, in the image of the universe, that the very essence of who we are at our core, okay, is a reflection of this power. Okay, the essence of who we are is a reflection of this power, is this power, right? And many of us have been distracted from that. Many of us have not been taught that, have not been encouraged to connect with the essence of who we are, have not been encouraged to see the essence of who we are, right? And so because of that, we've spent our lives allowing our identity to be so wrapped up in what is temporary. We've spent much of our lives allowing our identity to be so wrapped up in our humanity. Okay, we were not taught, many of us were not taught how to see ourselves as being created in the image of God. We may have heard it. We may have gone to church and we may have heard it. We may have been reminded. We may have read it somewhere that says, let's make man in our image. We may have heard it in church, people saying, preaching, you're made in the image of God. But that's where it stops. That's where it stopped. It stopped at hearing that we were made in the image of God. And it didn't go further. It didn't go into, typically, people don't go into into teaching us or reminding us that the very essence of who we are at our core is the I amness, is this power that dwells within all things, right? Which, when we understand, when we know that we were created in the image of God, when we understand, when we accept that the essence of who we are is The I amness is this power that dwells within everything, that creates miracles in our world and in our life. When we understand that, when we accept that, then what we are anticipating happening in our lives begins to change. Okay, when our identity is so wrapped up in our humanity, we are always in a space, typically always in a space of anticipating, and it's fair, right? Because we, in our past, we've experienced trauma, we've experienced tragedy, we've gone through things, we've experienced abuse, we have been the abusers, we have been the abused, we've made mistakes, we've experienced failure, people have failed us, we've failed people, and so that sticks. But where does it stick? It sticks in our minds, right? It sticks in our minds, it sticks in our nervous system. And so what needs to happen once we become, let's go with this, once we become aware of this essence that dwells within us, then again, what we anticipate happening in our life begins to change. So that goes with who we anticipate being and showing up in the world begins to change. How we anticipate acting in the world begins to change. What we anticipate experiencing in our life begins to change. Okay? Instead of anticipating disappointment, now, that doesn't mean that we won't experience disappointment, right? That doesn't mean that people won't disappoint us, but something that Kyle Cease says, he's a teacher, I would say he's a spiritual teacher, someone that I've enjoyed listening to over the last few years, something that he said on the regular and that he shared in group sessions is saying that in this body, number one, people are allowed to disappoint you. People are allowed to disappoint you. And your character is allowed to be disappointed in this body. Okay? The key in that is to remember that the essence of who you are is not anticipating disappointment. The essence of who you are is not anticipating disappointment. The essence of who you are is not anticipating failure. Okay? The essence of who you are, whenever the failure, disappointment happens, the essence of who you are sees it and continues moving forward, continues living in the flow. It is your character that gets caught up in the disappointment. It is the character that you have allowed yourself to be over-identified with that gets caught up in the disappointment, that gets caught up in the failure, that allows the failure, the disappointment, the heartache, the tragedy, the trauma to define your life experience. So then you begin to anticipate that is what your life, that is what the narrative of your life is going to continue to be, full of disappointment, full of heartache, full of tragedy, full of trauma, because you've allowed yourself to over-identify with the character, and the character holds on to the stories, to the narratives, to the past. So what needs to happen then is we have to make a decision. Because once we become aware of this power that we are, that lives within us, of the essence of who we are, of our godness, once we become aware of that energy that lives within us, that is surrounding us in every direction, from the inside out, once we become aware of that power, of that energy, we then have to make a decision. We have to decide Going back to the beginning of what I said, when we accept that we were made in the image of God, that we were made in the image of this power, when we intentionally allow that power, when we intentionally allow the essence of who we are to be the foundation for our lives, to be the foundation that we stand on, what we anticipate happening in our life begins to change. So now we're anticipating to experience life more abundantly. We're anticipating God showing up for us, this power that lives within us, showing up for us, leading us, guiding us. Now we're anticipating more alignment with our heart and our soul, with the will of living. Now we're anticipating living in alignment with the will of our heart and soul. Instead of just allowing this character that we've over-identified ourselves with, instead of just allowing this character to be what dictates the narrative for us. Now, the essence of who we are is dictating the narrative, is leading us, is guiding us. We're leaning on the essence of who we are instead of our character's interpretation of what has happened or of life. Because it's those mental interpretations that play over and over and over in our minds that has us anticipating the lower vibrational, and I don't even like to say that, the lower vibrational experiences. The experiences that keep us in cycles that don't necessarily serve us, that aren't allowing us to propel forward. Okay, and even though life is always flowing, even though the current is always moving downstream, right? Life is always flowing, life is always moving forward. It can feel like, because we're allowing those interpretations, those mental interpretations, because we're allowing them to dictate the narrative, it can feel like we aren't moving downstream. It can feel like we aren't flowing effortlessly with life because we're stuck in the cycle of those mental interpretations, of those narratives. And we're allowing them, again, to dictate how we see life. But if you can connect with the essence of who you are and ask the essence of who you are, what should I be anticipating? What is the essence of who I am anticipating? And here's the thing, here's what I'm hearing right now, is that the essence of who you are isn't even anticipating anything. The essence of who you are is dwelling in contentment. The essence of who you are is dwelling in peace. The essence of who you are is dwelling in love. The essence of who you are is dwelling in bliss. The essence of who you are, everything I just said, okay, everything I just said, and then my spirit is saying, scratch all of that. Hold on to it, but scratch it at the same time, because the essence of who you are is dwelling in stillness. The essence of who you are is dwelling in stillness. Okay, and here's something else to remember, that the essence of who you are, this power that dwells within you, is going to responding to you, because you are the vehicle. You are the vehicle. You are the vessel. And so the essence of who you are is going to respond. The universe is going to respond to whatever you are allowing to be the foundation that you are standing on. The universe is going to respond to that. So there's a narrative where the universe is responding to the essence of who you are, and there's a narrative where the universe is responding to the character that you are over-identified with. And then see yourself right here in the middle. And this is where you make the decision. right? It's like being at a crossroads. You see the two roads split off. You're right here. You have to make a decision. Am I going to flow this way or am I going to flow this way? Okay. I share this quote all the time because it's my favorite book. It's from The Alchemist. The universe is always conspiring on your behalf. And something that I wrote down in my journal this morning is that I am anticipating the universe to conspire on my behalf in beautiful, abundant, and bold ways. In beautiful, abundant, and bold ways. But the thing that we have to remember is, again, is that the universe is conspiring on your behalf, on the behalf of the essence of who you are, as well as on behalf of the character that you've allowed yourself to over-identify with. And you are the universe. So it's you conspiring on your behalf. It's you conspiring on your behalf. And that may be a lot to hear, but fill into it. Say that to yourself out loud. It's me. I am the universe conspiring on my behalf. And then you begin to identify, okay, well, if I am the universe conspiring on my behalf, what am I allowing into my experience? What am I bringing into my experience? What am I anticipating on my behalf? And then once you begin to identify what it is that you're anticipating on your behalf, then you can begin to make a decision to change, right? The change flows from you being honest with yourself, because I always say healing requires honesty. Healing requires honesty. In your honesty, you will find healing. So whenever you ask yourself that, what am I anticipating on my behalf? And you're honest and you receive those answers honestly, openly, you can see what it is that you're anticipating on your behalf. And then you can make a decision to anticipate something new. To anticipate something new, because the only reason why you're anticipating what it is that you're currently anticipating that may not be serving you is because of those mental interpretations, because you've allowed those mental interpretations that your mind picked up based on things that happened in the past to control the narrative. And so then you also have to make a decision to allow the truth of who you are, the essence of who you are. So now you're allowing the essence of who you are to control the narrative moving forward. Okay? So when you accept that you are made in the image of God, that you are made in the image of this power that dwells within all things, that lives within all things, that created everything that we can see and cannot see. When you accept that you are created in the image of that power, when you intentionally allow that to be the foundation for your life, what you anticipate happening in your life begins to change. What you anticipate happening in your life begins to change. Your attitude begins to change. Your attitude begins to change. Your attitude begins to change. The thoughts that you think begin to change, because you understand that the thoughts that you think become reality, right? You understand that the thoughts that you think become reality. You understand that life and death is in the power of the tongue. So then what you speak, how you speak about yourself, about your life, about the world, about other people, regardless of who hurt you and who disappointed you, you no longer speak about those people, about the world, about your life, about yourself in such a demeaning way. Because here's the thing, all of us, everyone was created in the image of this power. Everyone in this world, the person sitting across from you at the dinner table, the people that raised you or that didn't raise you and should have, the people that should have taught you this and didn't have because they just didn't know, they didn't have the understanding, they are also created and made in the image of God, in the image of this divine power and essence that lives within everything that we can see and cannot see. And so this is why you begin to see yourself and everyone around you differently. This is why and how you can begin to initiate forgiveness, because you understand that everyone, regardless of their past, regardless of who they were to you in your past, they are also created in the image of God. This is why you can activate a more compassionate and graceful way of being and acting towards yourself and towards other people, because you begin to see yourself in the other, and not yourself the character, but yourself the essence of who you are. You see that essence. You begin to once you move past the mental interpretations, you begin to see and feel that essence in the other. All right? So when you accept that you were made in the image of God, when you intentionally allow that to be the foundation for your life, what you anticipate happening in your life begins to change. Again, your attitude begins to change. Your conversation with yourself begins to change. The thoughts that you think, the words that you speak begin to change. The narrative begins to change. Stay patient, stay present. Remember that the essence of who you are is dwelling in stillness. The essence of who you are cannot be moved, cannot be swayed. All right? So remember that. Remember that as you step into the next moment of your day. Remember that. Remember that the essence of who you are cannot be swayed. The essence of who you are cannot be moved. Okay? I love you. Thank you for being here with me. Thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for doing the work. Thank you for showing up for yourself, because as you show up for yourself, as you show up and do the work, the world is benefiting. The world is changing because of the work that you are doing within your personal life. Even right now, as you are listening to this, receiving this with an open heart, change is being created in your being and in the world. So thank you for that. I love you, and I'll see you next time.